Our meetings are much shorter now than they used to be. I mean, I remember 15 years ago, they would last 40 hours.
Oh, no.
No, it's up.
Yeah, they were like, yeah.
So how long was it? I dialed into one meeting whenever
A couple of them.
Alan had me.
Same as you, you
call
did the
him.
same, right? You drove down last night and back to.
No, I did that.
Oh, you did?
So I guess she probably doesn't know. Too much.
Oh, Alan? Yeah. And see, you always understand you and Kim had a few conversations, you know.
I usually keep.
When we saw, is it your sister, she said was up? I saw a truck driving for a while. Yeah.
She didn't say that one time I offered up mine.
She said the wash and dry.
Yeah.
I don't know what she told you, I was so frustrated when I told her. It's not a stack, so we got rid of the old stack, but because the closet's not big enough, I bought a kit to stack, you know, the front load. So Logan and I pulled the dryer off, which wasn't terrible, but it's still big and bulky. And I pulled the top of the washing machine off and I see the part, because actually what I did, before I pulled the top off, I went to disconnect the hose. Piece of plastic just came out, and I was like, okay, that must be what's broken.
Do you have the old part?
I did, yeah.
This winter, I poured my silicone bowl.
Really?
In theory, I could paint oil apart. See how I can have this, the old part, I can make all.
Well, I'll show you a picture, because it's got like relays or something on top of it that, I guess it indicates when to let hot water, cold water in or out. Yeah, that's really, you got this stuff that plastic. We say that. You need to do plastic. Okay. I don't know how much pressure. That's was my only concern, because, you know, that's what water comes in. And I would assume until one of these little relays tells water to go in. I believe so. I haven't taken the whole part off yet, but here's the new part. So I'm assuming so I think it's just pretty good. Well, and that's the refrigerator, grain, $125. Grain, sell to. I'm like, really? I think I was $50 because
USB.
You sit anywhere, there's a marker there, you can put your name on the tank card.
Oh, really? So I've used that.
Hi, Barbara Smallwood.
Like I said,
Barbara,
Jerry.
Hi, Jay. Nice to meet you.
So what you
I'm gonna turn it down, yeah, I was just getting ready to do that. And I needed to log into Zoom first. Well, it's pumping out heat over here.
I could drive through it. You're paying attention to the. No, I used to have a friend out Then I'm in trouble because I woke up the truck and they were trying to push the side and shit. And I was driving down.
It was gonna be delivered.
No, she said you a big old smile and she grinned right with
Especially just. Yeah, we're heading out to our. I'll just, I'll order it.
Oh, sure.
About 6 years. Last year I was up there. You were up there last
There's more here too, so.
Okay. Yeah. I'm from here, basically, you know, rancho. Okay. I was raised here. You got Jake sitting on. You got it right here. You got it right there. What's that? Did she start swinging? Maybe I'll get on this side.
No, no, not at all. I'm just gonna turn this around so the people, there's only one other person on Zoom right now, so they can kind of see what's going on. No, you're fine.
Okay.
We've been up here all winter and I hardly saw these.
Yeah. You guys kind of figured this out.
We did. And it's kind of a good time to hibernate. These are already stuff.
Hello. Good morning, how are you? I'm fine, we're just getting ready to be in a homeowners association meeting for the condos. Are you there?
Major surgery. I'm learning how to revolve. I took out the mold. So what they did was they took care of the Achilles. Where the ball was,
You would have to learn how to walk again if you mess with that.
where the ball foot was, you put a plate.
That's right.
Here's the big toe. They attach it backwards. Everything to the main part. Then they put screws in.
Lucky you got to keep his toe.
And you don't realize how that system
Good.
controls it. A lot of times I still feel like when I'm trying to read the doctor said, no, I think you're going up as a therapy. To get that arch back there, and this and that. Because I was
My neighbor, and I never got to see you last week. Now that it's snowing, yes. Now that it's snowing, maybe I'll see you.
doctor said, no, don't worry about it.
Yes.
Morning, how are you?
How was the state?
Good, yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Hi, Randy. Hi, how are you? Welcome back. I know, right? I know. Wow, I know. Yeah, doing great. How about you? All right, doing good. Yes. Come over. Okay, I will.
What do you call it? It's very hard.
She's into all that. Alternative. She gave me something.
And he said, no. That was last week, the week before we were in.
Pretty much there all the time.
He was there regularly.
You want to know? He said it's cool. We got this going on our second space. Showers and leaking down
I'm all wet, it doesn't matter where it is. Because we didn't have enough snow cover. That caused issues.
And I talked to Michael yesterday, he said that. Because Stacy.
I guess our protection. He has a ball valve instead of a gate valve. Grass.
So the use case that
Well, that was then.
All right, guys, we'll get started. It's about 10 after, so I assume everybody who wants to be here is here. Is everyone that needs a packet, have a packet, at least one to share? One extra packet up here, if anyone needs one. Or two extra packets. Okay. Well, we'll do introductions. I'm Dan Galasso.
Charlene Berlino.
Stacy Johnson.
Well, go ahead, Chief.
Time out, sorry. Gotcha.
Julie Gowski and my sister and I are SunwatcherHOA2022.
We'll go here.
I'm Tim and my wife Kim LaShawn, we're at Unit 4.
Leanne Trigeri, I'm in 25.
James and Amy Smith, Unit 2.
Marion Watson, 35.
Ryan Hux, Unit 36.
Back to Andy and Christine.
Andy and Christine Ortiz were in 37.
Then come around to Randy.
Randy DeRuzio and my wife's not with me, Deb. We're in unit number 18.
Barbara Smallwood, number 29.
And then just around back.
Bill and Jerry Russell, number 26.
Dawson Jordan, number 40.
Alan Lane, number 1.
And last but not least.
Jake and Don Robbins, 17.
Okay. All right, well, we have 15, so we do have a quorum. First time in how long? First time in a long time without proxy, so that's great. Thank you all for coming.
Dan, we also have a couple people on Zoom.
Okay,
Mary Seeley and Lisa Neary.
okay, great. All right, perfect.
Mary Seeley and Lisa Neary.
What unit?
I do not know.
Can you hear me okay? This is Mary Seeley. Can you hear me?
29, 28, sorry.
Yeah. I'm unit 23.
26, so
26, so she's 28. Lisa's 28.
Her husband is Jerry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't see any proxies. Does anyone out there have any proxies?
David Barbosa sent you a form.
Did they? Barbosa sent a form? Okay. Okay. I'll look at that and see if I've got it here.
Well, they still couldn't hear me say yes. You gotta hit this.
There was a big blue thing that said tab.
You tap it.
No, you said don't tab.
Unit 20. I'm the proxy. I did not receive the proxy tomorrow.
They texted me at 8:15, so I was afraid they didn't, yeah. That's not here yet.
Could be on the way.
Okay. Either way, I don't. Proxies, I guess we count the vote, but we don't have one, so, okay. All right, so continuing down, you flip through your packet, we have a proxy, we have our declaration of the meeting. Any questions on either of those?
One thing I noticed is, Andy brought up, our up system on there.
Yep.
Their stack is gone.
Their chimney
And I think we have the right in our yard.
Okay.
You know, it kind of goes around it. I'm pretty sure that probably belongs to.
Okay.
We'll need to get that.
Okay, so that'll lose, we'll move on to the maintenance review and update. So maintenance, we need Barbosa. Chimney stack. Unit 22. Wonderful. So moving on, I did send a notice out. I hope everybody got it. Staying in units 1 through 4 and 17 through 20 this year. Michael's going to be up not next week, but the week after. Yep, I confirmed it's the week of the 5th. So he will be staining units 1 through 4 and units 17 through 20. If you have furniture or anything kind of screwed to the wall that you don't want to stain on, he does a really good job of taping off all the windows and getting everything prepped. But it does help him out if you pull off any furniture or anything. I screwed up and left the wire mesh on my deck last year, and he didn't like that because it causes the stain to drip. So he's kind of pulled it off. It's if you've got the wire mesh, pull the wire mesh or anything like that. So he did do last year. He did units 37 through 40, and down below that, I think 33 to 36, right? Yeah. So those two buildings were done last year, so we're just kind of keeping with that round robin staining, and so we'll keep that going. Also, while he's up here, I'll get mowing done, which it's starting to get green and grow, so that's good. So we have the mowing done. A little worried as dry as it was this winter, but so far we've made up a bit in rain. Road maintenance, I did meet with Ron Jameson from Chaparral. Met him earlier this spring. It was about a month and a half ago. It was still too frozen. He said he couldn't do anything. So I need to meet back up with Ron and get him. He said he would do the road maintenance for us. We did address the issue down by the dumpster. He says he's worked those roads quite a bit and he knows what to do. So I'll have to trust him. But he said what happened is that people are coming around that corner, they push the dirt and gravel to the outside of that corner, and that's what causes it to dam up there. So he's gonna get it pulled back up the hill and get that to drain. He said he'd get that draining well, and then I asked him if we, so I'll have to get a price on additional gravel. I think we're probably getting to the point where we need some additional gravel and whatnot. So I asked him to reclaim the gravel that's been pushed back by the snow removal. And he said he'd go try and reclaim as much as he could. I know there's stuff down by the end of your building, was that 30 or 32? Next to 32, there's a decent pile, and there's a decent pile up across the road. And then there's a decent pile in front of Dawson. that needs to be reclaimed, so.
It's been leveled out already.
What's that?
Somebody's leveled it out already.
They did pull it out, okay, I did ask Alex to do it, but
Tyler
he's
Huff
been,
came up and did it.
okay, great.
Yeah, just right after it happened.
He's been somewhat non-responsive to me, so, but if you got it done, that's great. Okay. So that covers road maintenance and mowing. I have the Barbosa chimney we need to get, repaired. Is there anything else? I know Barbara, you got some woodpeckers attacking your unit, and I think that got, huh? And yours? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, I wrote y'all a letter last year about the water leakage in our windows, and yesterday there was still a lot of water coming into the windows, the backside on 26. This has been a many years fiasco that's been going on about maintenance.
So have we've looked at that before, I believe.
Many years,
I think we've looked at it a number of times.
yes.
I know
And there's damage inside to the unit and stuff.
Okay, I know Alan has personally looked at that a couple times, right, Alan?
Well, I'm trying to think whether we actually replaced his upper window sills when we did that a couple of years back, but unless he's had Michael Lager go in, I have no idea what is really referring to.
Okay.
This goes back to when Dan was looking over things, Ed Falstaff was looking over things. I mean, it's been an ongoing battle.
Which window?
Excuse me?
Which window?
It's where the fireplace is.
The lower windows?
Yes, and also the upper, yesterday it didn't leak up on the upper, coming down. But you can see the water stains coming down.
So the operable window underneath, the one that opens underneath the,
Yes, and that was sealed up with, I think Michael had done it and also Ed back a few years ago.
okay?
I mean, basically you're looking at the wall, water stains, the tile has cracked from water getting up underneath the tile.
Okay. All right, we'll see if we can get Michael to take a look at it at least while he's up here.
Then also in 17,
Yes, sir.
haven't had the problem lately, but we have had it in the past where after a heavy rain, we'll get a leak from the roof down right over our kitchen sink.
Is that ours is broken twice, that
Vent pipe.
that
Vent
vent
pipe.
pipe on the front side. Because that snow pushes that pipe, and of course ours was cracked in half. Can you get up and see yours inside in your bathroom yet?
You know,
Of course, y'all
I
are, I
see
don't
it.
know if y'all are the same as ours though, so.
I see a trap door up in the ceiling. It looks like a way to get up above the ceiling. But I've never been brave enough to climb up there.
It's 17, right?
Yeah, you go sink.
Yeah, and I just assumed it was from the roof because it happened after a big rain.
That hasn't happened in a while, you said?
Hadn't happened for about 18 months now.
Okay.
So it's not a huge problem, but it probably needs to be looked at.
Okay.
I'll say also, I know similarly, some water damage in the bathroom, same road next to
Way
each other.
downstairs?
The upstairs
Oh,
one, and the ceiling sort of like, it could be the same issue.
Yeah.
And I didn't think much of it, because it doesn't seem, I mean, I just bought the unit, so I don't
Doesn't-
know. I don't know what difference it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does, I just looked at it, I took a photo when we first moved in, and it does seem to be a little bit bigger. So I just want to raise it at least as on record.
But you don't see any, there's nothing's wet. currently or
No, it's just
falling
a
or
bubble,
snow or
it's a
anything.
bubble on the ceiling of the bathroom upstairs, the back bathroom.
Yeah, we ended up with a little bubble running, and it started dripping down.
Yeah, that's what, I was like, oh, that sounds.
But again, not for a couple of years, is that,
Is that the master or the guest?
The master. Yeah.
36, right? Okay.
36, yes, sorry.
Then we've had ongoing at Unit 4. I actually just spoke to Michael yesterday about it. He said he will look into it again this summer. We actually have we weren't up here for 8 months, and we put a trash can there. When we came up this week, there was standing water in the trash can.
Okay.
I don't know how much rain, or when the last time.
Where at?
Significant, restroom downstairs.
Downstairs, right?
Yes. And he's been up there and tried various things, so spoke to him the other
It
day.
hasn't late this week, we've got, a little- I think it's the wind or something that.
So,
It's just the right, yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, anything else? All right, move on to everybody's favorite, financial review, the annual budget. So attached is the December 31st, 2022 financial statement provided by me.
So we talked last year. I talked to Tim with American Family, and he told us to count on a 50% increase in our homeowners insurance. So we actually, they sent the documents to Dan, and it wasn't that much of an increase. It did increase slightly, right?
It increased from 26,000, well, it's 26 and change, almost 27 to 29 and change. Really, it's 30, 29,996 or something. So it increased by about an additional 40, about an additional $4,000. You can see here we had an actual spend of 26,185.93 in 2022 in the red column there. And for the 2023 budget, I put it in as 30,000 because I got a policy here if anyone would like to, or I can email it to you if you'd like to review it. But it was 29,996. I believe. Yeah, $29,996.23. 29,996, 93. 29,996, 23.
Not much you can do about that.
Well, so that comes up to approximately $1,072 per owner. That policy, and of course, everybody should have a paper, so six policy for your interior. Like ours, we all say it's like $600. So that's $1,600 for our homeowners to factor that in total. I guess in big scheme of things, that's not terrible considering insurance is going up. Our homeowners at home went up in Texas like 15% last year. We got a brand new roof and it still went up. So we've had American Family for how long? Jake probably knows, or some of y'all know. It's been
Years.
a long time.
Yeah.
And we're kind of grandfathered in is what they're telling us. So we've gone up. I think Barbara was looking at some, I sent her the loss runs, which we haven't had any, I think, since we did the roofs back in 11, right? Is that when we did the new roofs? Was it 2011?
The new roof was put on units 17 through 20, I believe in 2013.
13. So there's been no loss filed with American Family, I guess, since then. So we've sent that multiple times. We've sent it to State Farm, we've sent it to Farmers, we've sent it to Allstate, we've sent it to, I don't know if Barbara's had any luck or not, but we have, I think Randy checked with some people, I've checked with some people, Dan checked with some people. No one wants to insure HOAs in Colorado
Right.
for some reason.
But it's complicated by the fact that we're
John-
rural.
John Zanatelli called me, which was our old agent.
Yeah.
He opened his own company in Colorado Springs with some more people. So he called me about 3-4 weeks ago, and I don't know if he was supposed to do this, but he goes, believe my, so he left a message, so I called back, because it wasn't John Santelli, it was, I guess, his wife. I don't know if there's a conflict of interest with that deal. Since
He was a captive agent with American Families, so now he went to a brokerage where he's open, he can source
Yeah.
whoever.
So she called, but when I called, I got John. And he goes, would y'all like us to give you a quote on your insurance? And he goes, can you send me your policy, which is normal? And I'm like, yes, and I've never heard back from him. So,
Maybe that's not gonna work.
yeah, I don't know. I still haven't heard anything. Yes.
Barbara?
I got a name of an agent. I don't even remember who sent it to me, but I've been talking with him. It's a farmer's guy out of Colorado City. He's sent the information that I got out for quotes, and he said we will get insurance. He said that's not true that HOAs are not being insured. Some companies may not be insuring them, but he was going to try and get back with me before a meeting today, and I haven't heard anything back yet. But he has it out for bid right now.
He may have some different information. The Farmers was the one that said they would not insure us.
I sent it to a farmer's. I sent it to a farmer's
But
agent last
if
year.
he can do it.
He told me they can, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It may not be farmers, it may be a sub of farmers. I don't know.
We've been trying for years to see if there's other options.
Yeah.
So if y'all have any work, I mean, we're all up to saving money.
Approximately 4 or 5 years ago, I was overwhelmed with how much we were paying for insurance. So overwhelmed that someone volunteered me to investigate.
That wasn't me.
And I did investigate it. This is several years ago. That's very important to know. And couldn't find anybody that could beat the American Family rate. Now, I've been paying a lot of attention this year to the emails back and forth. And Mr. Gary here mentioned that there was an agent, a farmer's insurance agent out of Walsenburg.
Yeah, I think it's the same one.
That's who Barbara's been talking to.
Mr. Chucka, is that his name? And that he was really offering to give us a quote. And then I saw that the folks at Farmers wouldn't insure condominiums. So I took that the next step, kind of peeled the onion on it. And if you check the internet, these people are all over HOAs. There's nothing on that internet that would remotely suggest that farmers not interested in insuring an HOA. And I'm saying, what am I missing here?
So I was a farmer's insurance agent, so I'll tell you.
Great.
So Farmers does advertise, they'll insure everything under the moon, and they go to their agents and they say, hey, go get business. We want business, go get business.
Gotcha.
And you bring it in and they send it to their underwriters and they go, oh, we don't want that business.
I see.
Oh, we don't want that business. Oh, that business seems risky. I don't want that. Oh, that one seems risky. I don't want that. So yeah, they tell that and they tell their agents that. The agent I sent it to has been doing farmers insurance for probably 20 years. He's goes to their annual, party for all their top agents. So he's one of their top agents, not just in the metro area, nationally. He ran it through Farmers. He ran it through their surplus line, which is Foremost. He ran it through 2 other guys that he knew, and he couldn't get anybody. It's not just because it's an HOA. It's partially because it's an HOA. It's partially because our fire line code. We're in a fire line code that they don't want to insure. Even their surplus line won't insure this fire line code. So, and it's not just, it's not just HOAs. They wouldn't insure a cabin. Farmers wouldn't, Foremost wouldn't. There was a declination from a couple other companies. So it's not just the HOA. The HOA complicates it, but it's the fire line as well. And so, I tried to get them to insure that I work for a home builder that builds townhome communities. And so I've gone out for other HOA insurance, and American Family was who I ended up insuring with. On a brand new subdivision in Denver, great fire line code, hydrants everywhere, brand new community. And I couldn't get anybody to insure it other than, well, I should say the cheapest insurance was American Family. I went through a brokerage called CCIG, and they sent me back a proposal that American Family was still cheaper and beat them. However, American Family non-renewed that policy this year. They said they didn't, and it's for a different reason. It's because we still got buildings under construction, and they didn't want to insure it until all the buildings are complete. So they said, hey, we need to insure it after all the buildings are complete. So it's a different reason, but they all have different reasons that they kind of look at this. And so I talked to the person at CCIG, which is a brokerage. I talked to the person at American Family. I talked to my farmer's insurance agent. He has my personal policies. And they said they're starting to see from the business side of it, they're starting to see more and more pushback on HOAs because these, the way the underwriters look at it is, well, we're getting this premium, sure. But if a fire rolled through, we have, X $1 million worth of loss in one shot, done. It's not like this guy was insured by Allstate and this guy was insured by State Farm and this guy had farmers. And so it's not mixed between them. One company takes the hit. And so, especially, you start getting into some of these bigger townhome communities, you're talking $20-30 million they can take a hit on. And they're not interested in risking the $20-30 million because they can't charge a high enough rate to recoup that money. And as soon as they start to lean on the rate to recoup the money, people go, oh, okay, see, we're gonna go to American Family or someone else. So
that certainly explains the question I had regarding the insurance. However, I don't know whether Ms. Smallwood or Ms. McGarry could get Mr. Chucka on the phone and ask him to either make a movement or get off the pot.
Sure.
Because we're in the lurch here. And wasn't it the general manager of that agency that phoned you and said, I'd like an opportunity to work this?
It was his office person.
Okay, to say he'd
She
like an
talked to
opportunity.
David, and then David said, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because he is working on aspen leaf, is what she said.
Right,
So
right.
I just assumed he was.
I have a
okay to
question.
do it. I didn't
Sure.
know his stuff.
Is it possible for all of us to just insure us individually and not do?
no, the problem is we have to change documents. And to change documents, we don't just need a quorum, we need, I believe, 67% for Kiowa, which is Colorado Common Interest Owners Association. So even though our no, then you have to get the mortgagees or the mortgagors to agree to it as well.
Right.
So it's not whoever holds a mortgage, you have to go to the bank and get the bank to sign off on it as well. So not only would we have to have 67% to change the documents, we have to get everybody who has a mortgage to go to their bank and go, oh, hey, by the way, can you sign off on this? So then you have to go through Wells Fargo or whoever everybody's mortgage through and get someone there to sign off to review all the documents, just like they did when they issued the loan, and sign off on the fact that you're gonna change the documents. No?
I'm gonna just put 3 pieces of information out there.
Okay.
Was just talking to, I think it was Charter Water Board, one of them, I think it was Glenn, and Panadero Villas, they've done a lot of work up there. They're no longer have shingles on the side. It's all redone, and I believe they got to a position where they had to insure individually, and it was 13,000 per owner is the quote I heard, for what that's worth. Okay, I'm gonna move on to past history. I found this out going all the way back into the minutes. The guy who's got us grandfathered in, John Zanatelli from AmFam, actually was a co-owner of Unit 39 with the Spradleys, decades ago, probably. And Randy can probably back up the third thing. About 3 years ago, Fred Edelman, who runs State Farm Agency down in Walsenburg, had a lot of flyers out, and I said, why don't we contact them? And we did. And they came up with what looked like a good quote, but when they threw it at the underwriters, it came back 10 grand higher. So even the person that they may be dealing with at Farmers now may be trying to get us a good deal, but when the underwriters look at it, it may be completely different the way it comes back.
Yeah, on the business side of Farmers system, it'll let you push it through and run a quote. And as soon as you hit okay, submit to underwriting, it won't bind the policy until it's been through an underwriter. And you submit it to an underwriter looks at it, they look at all kinds of different things. The underwriter looks it back and sends you to client. As an agent, it sucks because you get paid commission and you see this big policy come through. You're like, oh, look, I'm doing better than the other guy. And this is a nice big fat commission that I'm gonna make on this.
Yeah.
And the underwriter comes back and declines it and says, no, sorry, we don't want that. So most of your insurance agents will say, yeah, sure, we can do it. Let's do it. And their office people will say, yeah, for sure. We can run it through the system, and they put it in the system and they tell you the price and you go, yeah, that sounds great. And exactly what Alan said happens. They either raise the price or they decline it. And that's just how it works when it gets back to the back office of the insurance companies.
Well, the fire a few years back didn't help our cause.
Did not, sir.
Whether it's self-insured or whether it's through an HOA. My insurance is through Travelers, and with the loss assessment.
Yep.
It's just gone through the roof, and it's up for renewal in a couple more months. And I was thinking of maybe taking a collection up to help.
My HS6 is also with Travelers. Yeah, my HS6 is also with Travelers because again, I couldn't get it through Farmers. Even though my HO6 Farmers wouldn't do it, and Foremost wouldn't do it. Because I'd rather have kept it with my group. My friend went out to one of his friends and said, hey, I've got a buddy at Travelers that can do it. So my policy is with Travelers as well.
The problem too, I was gonna say, Marion, is you're gonna have a hard time getting a bank to sign off on that, because let's say you insure your own property, and let's say your neighbor's property is paid for, and he doesn't want to insure his property. You see what happens, and the bank's like, how am I gonna do anything?
Well, you're dealing with the common roof line.
Yes.
That's another challenge.
It also makes it a challenge dealing with a common roof line.
Yeah. So it's a tough deal. I'm assuming some places have done it, but it's gonna jump through some flaming hoops, no pun intended there.
So I guess the question I have in the proposed new policy that's coming, did they account for escalators? Obviously, we all got, I'm sure, our property tax increases. So, I mean, the value of these places are going up. Do we have adequate coverage in case of a total loss?
What was the question?
What our policy
Coverage? Oh, yeah, they have, well, the last one had, each forest condos appraised like $1 million.
$1,034,381 per building.
Per building.
This comes to a couple $100,000 a year.
1 million, how much?
1,034,000.
It's 258.
Over
Yeah.
250.
Yeah.
258 a building, which when you're talking reconstruction costs, not including the land, that's probably
Pretty close.
probably close. Then you're talking roughly $250 a square foot or so to reconstruct them. I think that's adequate. That should bring it up to, now if they had to reconstruct them, I'm sure they have to bring them up to code, and I guess they need to be on. I would guess that there are some stair issues and maybe some foundation issues, and different things that would have to be addressed if they had to bring them up to code. So I think that they've done a job, that I think they've brought it up adequately on that front, but they've also brought the rest.
Yeah, can we all get a copy or have access to that policy?
Yeah, you bet. I believe that Janine emailed me a copy as well, so I'm happy to send that out to the group.
Yeah, just put it on the website.
Yep, yeah, that'd be a good place, so we can all access it.
We can, yeah, I was looking for Kim and Kim's like, yes, I can. Yeah, we can put it on the website.
So any other discussion on dead horse insurance issue?
So 30 looks like about the only choice.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if Barbara, some others want to keep checking, go for it.
When is their policy renewed? What kind of time scale?
July 14. So,
So I was also told the way these policies work, you have to get it before renewal. So if we're up in renewal, they won't switch. They won't let you switch. It's not like your personal insurance where you can switch whenever you want. The other insurers won't take it if it's up on a renewal. So that's the other thing I was told. I don't know if that's true because I never tried to do this when I was an insurance agent, but yeah, it's so if he can get a quote back, I would guess he's seeing something similar because having been an agent, I would tell you a $30,000 policy, I'd be hot and heavy over a $30,000 policy. If I was an agent anywhere, especially an agent in Walsenburg. So
well, he just asked for the lost run thing like 2 days ago.
Okay.
And Stacy sent him to me and I sent him on to David. That was like yesterday, the day before. And then I was traveling all week to get up here, so.
yeah, and that was from August of last year, because we another insurance company requested that as well. So,
Okay.
but if he asked, we haven't had anything since then either.
Right, yeah.
That's the most recent one we have.
Okay.
So anyways, back to the budget, everybody's favorite. Obviously, you can see everything is basically the basics. I mean, we're not, staining's going up a little bit this year. Obviously, supplies have gone up. We just had some fence work done in Emerald. Don't price the stupid ticket. Ridiculous.
I have,
Ticket fence.
Oh,
Yes.
I have just a few questions on the budget.
yes, sir.
Could someone define for me grounds maintenance? What exactly does that mean?
Mowing and what we spent last year, the reason it was high last year is we had the trees removed. So there were several diseased trees that we had removed, and that's why we went over budget on that line item last year.
I spent $8,000.
Yep, the trees were expensive.
Wow. Okay.
There were a couple big trees that came with a bucket truck. It was a local guy, he came with a bucket truck and saws and cut everything down and broke it down into pieces and cleaned up after himself, and it was not cheap. We discussed it, it's something you have to do if you have a tree that's gonna fall over onto one of the units. We're dealing with a bigger expense.
I absolutely appreciate it. I would just, when I see 2,200 budgeted and $8,000 spent, it just.
That sticks out.
Yeah, so that's what happened. We had some folks that called their attention that there were aphids in the trees and the trees were diseased, and we had an arborist come up and look at them, and he recommended a certain number of trees come down. And so we took the recommendation and put the trees down.
The other question I had was regarding chimney repairs and cleaning. I noted that we only spent $200 last year on chimney cleaning. Can you tell me roughly what they charge to clean a single chimney?
About $200.
About 200. So one chimney was $10.
Yes, sir. Yeah, one person had their chimney cleaned last year and submitted for reimbursement.
well, the HOA does every other year,
Yes.
Okay,
so this year it'll be higher.
I see.
When I had mine, I do mine every year because I'm here,
Yeah.
and it was 175.
Well,
That's all.
if they're going to be doing it this year, they've got $1,500 budgeted, so which 7 units are going to be taken?
Well, and the reason that's just a kind of an arbitrary number, just from the past, is because they go around and they check chimneys that they feel need to be cleaned.
Right.
Some people they may have a chimney, but they don't have a stove anymore. They took it out. Some, they don't use it, so they don't need, and they're pretty good. We use all that is energy out of Trinidad.
They have been a very good outfit.
Yes, and they don't, if they come and they're not gonna clean it just to clean it. So they'll get up there and they'll say 22 doesn't need it. And so that's why it's really kind of a guess. Obviously, a budget is a guess.
Are there records of which ones
have been cleaned when? Like my unit, I'm assuming used a lot probably, because they live there. So when was the last time?
I think 36 was clean year before last.
Yeah, they didn't do it last year.
No, because ours wasn't clean either.
Yeah, ours wasn't.
Ours was now.
Yeah, I walked with all that is energy people when they did the last robust cleaning. Sometimes you can look up at somebody's unit just from the outside, and you can see shiny metal, and it's really obvious that their fireplace is not in use. A lot of people have pellet stoves. Some of them are 8-inch flues, some of them are 6. The pellet stoves are usually 6. I don't think all that in energy is in business anymore.
They are.
The people that
It's the
came up
same
last
guy-
year were.
It's the same guy that was here, that was at All Good in Energy. There's a different name. I have it
Yeah,
on my phone.
yeah,
I can't
the truck that came up
remember.
last
It's the
year
same
was
guy.
not all that is energy, is all I'm saying. And
What is their name now? Do you know?
I'll go look at my phone.
that their location down in Trinidad is not inhabited anymore either. So.
Yeah, because I picked up a business card, somebody had left one, I think it went to the gas station in Levita or something, and I picked up a business card for another chimney sweep.
I've got a phone
This
number
is
of the
the
one
same
who cleaned
guy
my
that was
unit.
there before. Oh,
The chimney.
Yep.
I got the phone number, but I don't have the name. I just have chimney cleaning. I didn't write their name down, but I do have the phone number, and they're out of Trinidad, and they cleaned my unit last year. Pardon?
You paid for that on your own?
No, well, I paid it and then they reimbursed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have somebody living there full
$200
time.
reimbursement was like the one that we sent to Barbara.
But was the 200 me?
Cristo chimney service.
We only had one to come in. Yep, I think
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
saw.
him. It's the same guy, yeah, it's the same guy.
Sangre de Cristo. Sangre. SANGRE.
Correct.
Jim,
I have the number if you want it.
Sure.
719-859-0241. That, yes.
Troy.
Yes, that's right. Is that the Woodland someone?
What's his last name?
Levine, L-E-V-I-G-N. Troy. That's the son, I always got same person.
Okay. Okay. We'll give them a call, get them scheduled, come out and do the round robin this year.
I have one last question on the budget.
Yes, sir.
Under staining. I assume that the 2022 budget of 17,000 had some basis as a result of staining the previous year. Is that a bad assumption on my part?
What was the price?
Okay, what I'm trying to understand is we budgeted 17,000 in 2022 for staining. On what basis was that number established? Was it the previous year's staining?
Yeah.
Okay, now brings my second question up. Now, I happen to know that when Halsted was using Apache staining, he thought those people hung the moon. And I was never real happy with the job they did. Michael Leggett, I'm a big fan of Michael Leggett. He does a wonderful job. And I noted that the charge last year was $22,725. That only blew the budget by 33%. And I'm trying to understand, did staining go up that much?
Yes.
I know staining's more expensive, but 5,000 on 17, that's a big number.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much Michael's fee as it was just the cost of materials last year. This year, Michael told me specifically that on the building that has the white windows, 17 through 20, that he will be charging a little bit more than he has in the past because the taping all that stuff off is an aggravation and a lot more work. Just something else that we could probably save money on. I don't think this winter that we kicked back mountain disposal to
We did
once a month.
We didn't.
They were coming, no, they were coming every
Friday.
every other, they were coming every week instead of
Yeah.
every other week. So we could have saved a little money. I don't know how much it was involved, would have been involved, but typically in the winters, we were kicking it back because you have 2 trash bins and only one of them is half full, sometimes even when they come every week.
Well, this staining is an awful lot of work, and I just couldn't say more about the job that he does.
Well, we're just hoping last year he had a lot of issues with his health. And he's having a hard time breathing up here, so, I know he said the doctors would, I guess he's on a plethora of things now, but he's hoping he can handle
Hopefully he'll have.
the altitude this year, so anyway.
So far, he hasn't found anybody to come over.
Yeah.
He
He's
can't find
having a hard
anybody.
time finding anybody to work.
Well, that's everybody.
And so, and talking about that too, like when the last bid we got, and I think it was from Tim, our previous maintenance manager. I use that term loosely. Was gonna quote us 22,000 per building.
Oh, my God.
To stay in the buildings. Michael doesn't charge that for 2 buildings. So if we think we can, y'all have, I mean, we're always up to people bidding, but we've put it out for bids multiple times. We have not been able to get, gone out, I think, Randy trying to find some people in Pueblo, which I think is where Apache was from originally. And then the last time we tried to get Apache, they wouldn't even give us a bid.
Well, and the other thing too, going to capitalize on Alan's point, Michael was also putting multiple coats. So where we were looking at a certain amount of quantity of stain, you know, he was in some cases, doubling that, if not tripling.
One of the buildings, he put 5
coats on because it had, you know, it was sucking it in so bad. So as far as in comparison, in previous years, nobody compared to Michael's price.
I agree.
And truly, I think because of, Michael has a vested interest up there, which also helps the cost because of the relationships that he has now with so many other property owners. So when he comes up, he really does try hard to do a good job for us. So I am I'm a little concerned as to his health challenges. Are we gonna keep him, Michael? Or do you see that?
He wants to keep doing it.
Does he?
I mean, he loves coming up here and he takes a lot of pride in his work, and so.
I talked to him yesterday, he was gonna come up and try to acclimate for 3 days, he said, before he starts blowing and going to work, and so he, with the lungs and all, so he's really trying.
I think what really caused his biggest problem this last year was his second bout with COVID, and that really kicked his butt.
That is probably one of the biggest challenges we've had since we owned our place, in finding a good, solid maintenance person that is kind of all around and at a fair price. The very few that you could get before, I mean, they thought they had you by the short hairs when they come up here, and they were gonna charge you a premium.
And that's because they did.
And they did. And so, you know, to have to actually import somebody out of Amarillo to come and do it for us at a reasonable price, and really does make a concerted effort to get it done. I hope we can keep it.
He's pleasant to talk to.
Yeah.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate
What's the
too.
name of Stephen's last name?
Who?
But if you see,
Stephen.
Stephen Ames actually asked me
So
one
have you thought
time,
about?
just a couple of years ago, what Michael was getting. Stephen Ames is possible, I think he's actually living in that house.
I think we had talked about that before. To me, those look like storage facilities now, but that's just me.
I see his truck there.
I don't know. I forget. We talked to one of the owners next door, because ours is back up. Did you talk to someone?
And that doesn't go to your insurance, that goes directly.
He's the only one.
So each unit owner has to be ready to invest the amount of money it costs to site your house.
That's a steel siding, is it steel? It's steel siding.
I don't think so, I think it's vinyl.
No, it's not
Is it
vinyl.
steel?
It's steel.
Either way, it's
So is that gonna?
not terribly attractive.
My tail up here, but.
Huh? I don't think so.
Because they left the wood behind it, right?
Yeah, they left the wood behind it, and they just sided over it. Right.
I mean, that would certainly be up to the homeowners if they wanted to look at that.
I mean, I'm just thinking future, and then you don't have to stain, and then you also get a discount on your insurance. I don't know.
Well, they're still gonna have to stain the deck, so then you've got to take off all the building. So you've got that issue too. But again, that's certainly something that the owners will talk
I
about.
wondered that too. Yeah.
And I personally think is where we disagree. I think they look nice. I think the sunrooms look awesome.
Oh,
Very sleek and modern.
I think they look like our self-storage. No,
they don't.
But, I'm pretty sure too, and I don't know if you talked to them, but I'm pretty sure they had to pay that up front. That wasn't something they could pay out over time.
I don't know.
So they had to just pay the 12 grand.
No, it's an assessment that gets paid up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've been working on, for several years, putting the money back,
I'm not sure what thing is starting to set up on the side, to just
Right.
deal with the siding issue. At some point, that siding's got.
And you can't take too long to earn the money because then the price of the siding will change, so you can't, you're gonna have to do it pretty fast.
Well, like right now, if there's a like wood rot or something, we can still replace that piece of wood and then just stain it to the same color. Because you can tell some of them kind of have a different hue to them with the newer boards and stuff. But that's something that everyone can certainly talk about that too. But if you'll notice on the balance of the budget, we actually had put aside 10,200. So I know we talked about this multiple times in the last probably 8 or 9. What a financial institution wants to see, because I have filled these out, and I think Dan has too. When someone wants to buy one of our condos, or they want to sell their condos, the financial institution wants to see the budget of the HOA, and the reserves are at least supposed to match their yearly budget amount. So like right now for 2023, we have a budget of 81.5. That's because we're talking about, because last year we had budgeted 10.2 to put back in reserves, which we did not do because we had $97 left. So that's, as you can see, the current HOA quarterly amounts are down there at the bottom. And then you can see, we just put those down there as to what it would be per quarter. So like the 725 per quarter would bring us to 81.2, which is still a little bit less than the budget. So that's one thing that everyone needs to decide. Because right now you can see we have 51,436 in reserves, which still does not amount to what our old budget was, which was 67.2. So the table is open.
Where's the discrepancy, looking at the very top line on the dues assessment, based on, the estimate, which is obviously an estimate, but everything should be standard, everyone's paying the same, so where's the $7,000 discrepancy? Estimated at 67.2 versus the very first line.
Oh, well, because when we increased dues last year, I had put that budget in for the whole year. Well, everyone decided not to do the increase until the 3rd quarter.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So I meant to bring that up too.
I may do somewhere, but.
Not right.
Yeah, no, we only paid the increase on the 3rd and the 4th quarter, so we didn't realize it for the whole year last year.
That's not bad. So no one wants to pay higher dues, but we need to make a decision what we want to do. Next HOA. And to me, guys, it doesn't look like, at least not for the next few years, that anything's going to continue to go down in cost.
So what would be the increase per person in order to make the budget?
Well,
The budget?
I mean, we can come up with $300, $725 a quarter would be the new amount if we want to put back money into the reserves.
The only way I see savings achievable is that typically the building standing rotation we do 2 buildings, 2 buildings, 2 buildings, and then we have the one odd man out. in that year that we skipped, we didn't skip. Basically, what we did was all the rot on, which was extremely substantial on all the hopper windows near the where the wood stove is located. That was what we spent time doing in that off year. In theory, you should have an off year where you don't return immediately to a staining schedule, where you will have some savings. It may, that, just put that out there.
Yeah, and you'll notice too on this budget, guys, we do not have a maintenance manager in there anymore, which we used to pay $5,000 a year to walk the facility. And we also don't have a potential management company, if that's something we want to go back to handle the HOA. So this is just the bare bones. So there's no fluff in here. We always, I'm not sandbagging. So, yes, sir.
This will be my last commentary. I want you to know that my lovely wife, Amy, did quite a bit of research on this. I have some alarming statistics for the association. My wife and I.
Are you gonna be at the downer?
No, not I'm just trying to overdose everybody with fact.
Okay.
In 2007, we had a whopping increase of $36, and our HOA fees went from $414 to $450 a year. That was in 2007.
A year?
I'm not sure who the president was at the time, but in 2011, 4 years later, we were spending money like a drunken sailor, and we increased the dues $25 over 4 years, $25 to $475 a quarter. Now, that was not touched until Mr. Galasso proposed an increase of, I believe it was $125, is that correct? To $600. Now, that was the first increase we had since 2011. That is roughly 11 years. Now, you need to think about 11 years of no increase. You can't run an association any more frugally than that. So, little Precious here got into some government statistics, and I'm going to be very brief about this. She ran what inflation was for the 11 years that we sat being frugal. And this is government. We didn't dream this up. We got it right off the internet.
That's country.
This is government data off the
internet.
When you factor in inflation, we have the inflation rates from 2008 through 2023. During that 11-year period, we actually shortchanged the association by not paying a nickel more than we were paying in 2011. $73,000 when you factor in inflation. Now you just need to think about that for a minute. 73,000. Now, if you were to do the math on this, I haven't done it. I got up a little late this morning. If you divided 73 grand, let's round it off and say 70,000 by 11 years, what's that come to, Angela?
6 something. 6 something.
66,000?
6,000.
Okay, that's per year. Now, if you were to divide that by 28, how much does that come to per year? 28 units. How much?
227.
227. So had we paid 227 more a year over that 11-year period, we'd have roughly $70,000 in that bank account we don't have now.
Those are our reserves.
Right, and my whole point with this exercise is not to just bust off or show how very smart my wife is, but it's merely to point out that we cannot run this association more frugally than we have. This budget, not rocket science, insurance 40% of the budget. Good Lord. That alone, that's why we spent so much time on it this morning. And you gotta stay in the buildings. Now, the cycle could save us some money, but it's right back to the $1.25 that we were hit with last year. It's a lot of money. It is. I'm first to tell you that. But it was the first one in 11 years. Can you imagine raising a wife and a family for 11 years on the same money that you were making 11 years ago? Well, you can't do it. And that's what we're experiencing now. The defense rests.
And I appreciate that, James, and I do want to say that that's kind of a, it's a testament to all the hard work that people have done. Ellen spent a lot of time, Ellen did a lot of our maintenance at no cost, and there's been a lot of people that have pitched in and done things at no cost that have helped us. And, I don't know that we don't have the no cost option anymore. And so that's part of what's happening now. And that was, so it's, hats off to you guys for running it for 11 years without an increase. That's everyone who's involved with the board, because you made it work and you got there. We should have had an increase, to James' point, we would have had an increase in our reserves had we done something different. But I understand what everybody was trying to do as far as keep the dues down for everyone. And that's appreciated. But that's, as we talked, that was the 125 last year. We're at a point now where we have no choice. COVID kind of pushed us past that point. We were on that tipping point for a long time, and the board found a good balance for a long time. And COVID pushed that balance the other way because everything, I'm gonna blame it on Texas because they froze and that caused all the sand prices to go up. Houston froze and it blew up all the petroleum plants and everything went wrong in Texas. So that is my personal belief on who's to blame for this, so we can all blame Texas. But in all seriousness, costs are up on everything. I try to work it into every agenda, so somehow blame Texas for something. But these are the numbers. This is where you're at as we've gone through it line by line. You can see there's just not a ton of room to hide. If we had some more room to hide, we'd hide, but there's no room left to hide. So
is that a board decision or do you need a motion?
No, you need a motion and a vote and we have to decide. So we have to decide, yes. I mean, Stacy put the budget together and kind of gave us a menu of increases and what each increase would do for our budget. As you can see, we landed at, with our budget, what is it, 81.5. Keep it round and go to 81.2. We would just take 300 out of our reserve and it would end up at 9,900 instead of 10,200. But it's something I can tell you. I've been here almost 3 years now. This is my third meeting, and I don't think I've seen that reserve budget increase in 3 years. So, we at some point have to start getting positive in our reserve because $51,000 is not going to go anywhere. That's roughly that's $1,800 a unit basically, and $1,800 a unit is going to do nothing, really almost nothing. It's good for a few minor repairs here and there, and that's about it.
Has anyone had trouble selling their unit because of the reserve issue?
I don't think so, because we were at 60,000 at first, and we had 51,000 in the reserve. So I never got any blowback. I got one from a Wells Fargo at one point, big corporate bank, but so I just told them, we were trying to increase our reserves each year, and I guess I appeased them because I can't remember who bought, but they financed them.
Okay.
So,
is that
but it does come up whenever the financial institution calls me, because what they do is they send me a spreadsheet on condo and ask for when the association was founded, how many units are fall, is it finished? I don't know if you've seen those too, Jake, but I mean, it's just a plethora of 2-3 pages, depends on the bank that wants it, and then, I have to send them this some stuff and write this and back to them. So, or Dan, the one, but I just did it for so long.
Okay.
So what it comes to, they wouldn't, yeah, it would not cover the deductible for just, not even one building.
We're
So
here
something
for,
bad were to happen, you'd be, yeah, you got.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. The numbers are what they are. You can't massage them unless you want to start taking things off. So I don't want to pay anymore, I can tell you, and I'm sure nobody else does either, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So to continue to stay financially somewhat stable, I don't see how you do it otherwise. I guess another question.
our
would be-
per occurrence property deductible is 5,000, so per building. Yeah, so we're, it's our property coverage. Basis, right? Risk of direct policy will coverage, risk of direct physical loss. $5,000. Well, am I reading that right? I think I am. Because we don't have a per unit coverage, we have a per building coverage. Insurance. I just said risks of direct physical loss, so any direct physical loss. It should cover any direct physical loss. It says deductible 5,000, so I'm pretty sure it's 5,000 per building, which is low.
Can I ask another insurance question? Sorry, really quick before the motion. I looked at the insurance when I purchased this last fall. I was looking at all the unit numbers. Felt like they were missing buildings when I looked at the list.
They were.
So is it not covering all the buildings or?
They just weren't built.
Well, they weren't
They
built.
were never built.
They were never
There was
built.
originally supposed to be 40 units, only 28 were built.
And
There's
that's
only
why,
28 units.
yeah, and that's why there's a jump in the numbers.
I mean, sorry, I
Yeah.
haven't walked around the
No,
numbers, so. Yeah.
About 300,000 in an interest in building.
That's where some. More units down by
Yeah.
that, so there's one right in the middle there.
Okay, good, as long as everything's covered.
Yeah.
Because there might be more costs coming at us.
I mean, I had to argue the same thing with the property people up in Warehouse County when we processed our property taxes in 2013. No, there's 40. No, there's 28. You know.
What units were missed then, what numbers?
5 through 8, 5 through 8.
5 through 17.
And then
5 through 16. 5 through 16,
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, sorry to distract, thank you.
No.
And I also had to argue with them too, because they had our land assessment at a higher rate than anybody else, because you could go in and look at everybody else's. We all own an undivided 1/28 interest into the common area. That's the only land. So everybody's assessment should be the same.
I haven't gone through it.
And 2 years later, we had our taxes dropped by about $45,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
And why do they have us as 3-bedroom, 3-bath?
Yeah, they had to come out and look at some.
Those are both stretches.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.5 bath for sure, but maybe 2.5 bath bedroom, I don't know what you call it.
I don't know.
Place people better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called them.
Yeah.
I called them. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah,
She did.
I did. Everybody was like,
It's not like Estonia, but the California.
yeah. So she said.
So, like, I mean, it says that it's about $60,000. It's about $60,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that, ours went up, ours went up about 60,000. But they had dropped ours down in 2003 to under 140,000.
Didn't matter like ours is silver,
So-
carpet, didn't matter versus brand new.
The recommendation would be to go to 725.
That's why.
As a comparison, Aspen Leaf condos is at 700 a quarter. They have a much larger number of units.
64, 68.
They are 700 a quarter. That would put us at 725 a quarter. So that would be, another 125, which is 40 some dollars a month, I think, right?
Does theirs include water?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, okay, I know we didn't want it.
It used to.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I mean, guys, like I said, the numbers are here. There's really nowhere to hide. That would be our recommendation. Outside of that, we're just cutting that reserve number back further.
I make a
like I said-
motion
Yes, sir.
that we go ahead and raise the dues. I don't want to do this any more than anybody else, but again, the numbers don't lie.
Neither
So
do I.
raise them to 7.25
Yeah, I
per
second.
quarter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
And when would that go into effect?
Well, guys, I mean, do it as a third quarter again this year. I don't know that anybody wants to pay it back 250. Should we pay the back 250? I'm fine paying it back 250. It's a whole problem with having our meeting in the middle of the year
Yeah.
and approving our budget in the middle of the year. We discussed it last year, but again, it's not an easy, I looked into it. It's not an easy thing to do to change our documents. So,
Well, we just made a motion for 700, which is not even reaching.
725.
What'd you say?
7.25. 7 and a quarter.
Yeah, 7 and a quarter. I thought you meant 700 a quarter.
7 and a quarter.
This is a quarter.
Do we detect an A?
So we want to go back to the first of the year, so we need to make that for the first.
I think so.
and second quarter.
Otherwise, where our budget's gonna be, we're gonna be short on our budget by half
So for the entire.
of the increase.
Okay.
So we're virtually doing a 250.
So we'll have 250 for quarter one and quarter two, and then so when your third quarter statement comes out, it'll look like we raised it a lot more, right? Because instead of being 725 for the third quarter, it'll be 975 for the third quarter. Because that'll catch first quarter and second quarter up. And we can vote on that if you guys would like. If everyone agrees, then I say we move forward with that. Again, guys, I don't want to do it anymore than anybody else wants to do it.
It'd just be line items, so people who aren't here see it and understand. Instead of just one flat number.
On the statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have you.
Yeah.
Note that back
Back
increase
for quarter one, back increase for quarter two, and moving forward.
Okay, so because when I get home, the accountant is going to want to know exactly what's going on here. So.
Yeah, me too, Randy.
Don't you mess me up, man. I'll tell you, I'll be making my own dinner. So.
She won't carry you through the snow
No.
anymore.
So it's gonna be how much and when?
So what we'll do, we'll ask Janine to do 975 for the third quarter due. Then the fourth quarter due will be back to 725. Or if you guys would like, we can do 850 and 850.
Oh, that's better for me.
Simplify it,
Yeah.
whatever works best. for
Okay,
everybody.
is that okay with everybody? That'll make the budget whole. So,
And then go back to 7 and a quarter, January 1st.
January
Yeah.
first quarter next year, it'll go back to 7 and a quarter, so we can do 850, 850.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I think that we'll go through the rest of the agenda real quick, and then we'll get out of here, hopefully in an hour and a half. New website, there wasn't really a new website, but Kim was very gracious and updated and got our current website fixed. It was attacked by someone or something. So it is fixed and up and running. And like I said, this is old. I didn't really do a ton to this agenda, so HOA responsibilities, I think we're all clear on HOA responsibilities, and unless anybody has any questions on that.
I guess that's a good first question I have.
Okay.
I'm learning about HOAs. And thank you. I've tried to avoid them before this. And I am wondering about some of the architectural issues. Like, has there been a discussion on an architectural review committee to discuss new windows, to discuss, all the, I had a problem getting internet service. And so I knew there was a problem with where to place my
Starlink.
My now required Starlink, because I didn't have any other options that are valid, really.
Yeah.
So, I'm not making motions to decide anything, but what is the process that's happening to start making some of these decisions that are affecting?
So we did kind of try to do a design review committee for the windows. I don't know that it worked out really well. There is not language in our documents for as far as the design review committee goes. Which is where I started down the road of trying to change our documents. I talked to an HOA manager that I know that's been doing HOA management for a long time. And she said, I don't know, you might have a hard time changing those, but talk to an HOA attorney. Talk to an HOA attorney and he kind of said, hey, you have to do it according to Kiowa. I said, well, hold on. Our HOA was formed before Kiowa was voted in. And he said, it doesn't matter, Kiowa, whenever you make changes, you have to adhere to Kiowa. That's where we fall back to make changes to the document, we have to have 67% vote. And on top of the 67% vote, we have to get approval from the 67%, I think we can get to. I think everybody here is fairly agreeable and understands. And I think we could get to that. It's the whole part of tailing back and getting the mortgagors to sign off on it that I was told we'll have difficulty. That'll be our sticking point. So I'm all for, we can motion to establish an architectural review committee and establish guidelines from that. And I'm happy, guys, I have form architectural review guidelines that I can send out. That I
We've
have
had
from
one in the past.
other HOAs. So I'm happy to do that. Like, if we want a motion to do that and everybody here agrees, what do we have, 15 plus 2, there's 17.
What's the issue with the document?
That's
so
the way the HOA, but between the bylaws, the articles of incorporation just say, hey, we're setting up. The bylaws state how we as board members have to act. And then the declaration of conditions, the CC&Rs.
Right.
Tell us what we can and can't do. And tell us what you have to do and how we have to enforce it. And so our CC&Rs were last updated, I don't know, in the 80s, late 80s, maybe.
Well, at least in the 90s when they built our building.
Possibly in the 90s when that building was built.
Yeah.
So
And they really weren't updated.
And they don't address.
It was special committee.
and they don't address an
They
architectural.
don't say yes or no, they don't say can't, they don't say.
Leanne,
There's a lot of.
when you put up your, you just had new windows put in.
Well, they're just replacement windows. I didn't change the building.
That's what we all agreed on as a group,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
you can't change the building, you
can't
can
change
replace
the
your windows,
structure of the
they have to
building,
fit in the
but you
same
can't-
opening.
Right.
We did go with the brown, thank you, Mary Ann and Leanne went with the brown to keep it uniform. The decision was, if your building currently has white windows, you replace with white windows. If your building currently has brown windows, you replace with brown windows. And that was agreed on by everyone, right?
Yeah.
If there's any dissent here, this is the place for it.
But there was no control committee or anything, you had to.
She submitted a request to us and we approved it.
Yeah,
Okay.
he said, okay, and
Did
then
the
Mary
same
already
space,
had
that's
done
all.
hers, so I
So
just
that's-
got what she got.
And that's because the HOA several years ago said that all homeowners would be responsible for their own windows. And then you could get those windows.
Responsibility of the HOA, right?
What?
It's the maintenance responsibility, isn't it, of the HOA, when you look at the.
No,
It's not.
HOA has nothing to do with.
So then when he was talking about his issues, it sounded like it was a window issue, but what is that issue?
Well,
Lack of maintenance.
if it could be deciding for the framing around the window, that's part of the outside wood of building that then we would have to address.
Go ahead, Ellen.
But the glazing
See,
itself.
Randy, when he was on the board, did a lot of work looking back into the old meeting minutes, et cetera, for doors and window issues, but as far as our bylaws, they were amended in 2007 and the last time in 2009. In 2010, the annual meeting, there was a change where they had previously, prior to 2010, paid for window replacement. In 2010, the vote was to make the windows the responsibility of the owners. Now, the windows you're dealing with on your unit really aren't the Hopper windows. It's the larger panes of glass, which are not technically windows. They are insulated glass panels. I replaced 2 last year, and 2 of them, 2 different sizes, cost me $400, and I installed them myself. You're talking about 11 windows that theoretically could cost you less than $3,000 if you got a good price, but you gotta have them installed. So just putting that out there, but our bylaws did last change in 2009.
Okay. So a couple meetings ago, we went a couple hours on the window topic.
Yeah, I don't mean to.
It was a long, and that's not why I bring it up, but I just bring that up to say that we've kind of gone back and forth and where we landed. We kind of formed a window committee, and where we landed was if you have brown, replace with brown. If you have white, replace with white. There was one person that had replaced with white without getting approval, and we just said, okay, we're not gonna, it's on the back side of the building where nobody really sees it. We said, okay, we're gonna leave that one alone and we'll move forward. But moving forward, if you have brown, replace with brown. If you have white, replace with white. Was there, Mary Ann and Leanne has done it, was there any drastic cost difference between white and brown? You know?
I didn't even look, I didn't want white, so I didn't even ask.
Okay.
Carrie's an upcharge, so I can't remember.
And it's, their windows were more expensive. They went to a much different window than what Alan is talking to. It's a much.
They went with a true window, not a replacement of the insulated glass panel.
Yep. So, if you would like to replace your windows, please just submit a request and let us know what you're gonna do, and we'll say, yep, go ahead and do it. Do it before you order them. That was kind of one of the things we had, and Leanne did. That was one of the things we had, and that's not meant to pick on anybody or anything like that. It's just do it before you order them is helpful. But they do look great. Mary Ann's look great. I did do it. You did the back as well.
Yeah, you're also
Recently.
supposed to pull the permit too, just
The HOA or
No,
where.
the owner needs to pull the permit, or your window company needs to pull the permit. Like where we go now. But I do agree that your windows look nice, very nice. Front and back. So. But yeah, guys, if you please want to do it, please just submit a request, so we know you're doing it.
When I came to my internet, when I moved in, I figured it out, but I had a challenge because the person installing it, we lost the radio signal, right, for the higher level service. So then the lower level of service, it didn't work because it couldn't hit the tower. So then.
For Hotel or for Starlink?
No, this is whatever local CCOM.
Oh, CCOM.
They came out, they pretty much said, they know that like I can't put it on the roof, I can't put it, he was like, you pretty much have to keep it where it is, and if you keep it where it is, I can't give you service. So I put a Starlink on that spot and it's not getting the best service because it's next to the building. Just as an example, like who do I figure this all out? Where can I put my thing without causing anyone consternation?
Ellen?
But just as far as CCOM is concerned, they're the one that you would want to go with, but just as an item of information, bandwidth, the frequency that they operate on goes out to bid, and they lost the bid. So the reason we don't have the square rectangular dishes and we now have round ones is because they lost the frequency they had before. The guy that came in to install that told me that the frequency they're on now doesn't drill through trees quite as well as what they used to have. So that's probably part of an issue of reception now.
Where did they put yours at?
On the deck.
Yeah, it's just on the deck.
Jade
think-
is coming up here, but it's a matter of time. I talked to the Jade, in fact, they installed them beautiful. I think they're in town already and they're supposed to be
Yeah, they are
coming
now.
up.
You had
He has Starlink though.
Yeah, he wouldn't install it, because he was like, it's not gonna give you any service. And he was like, he wasn't willing to put it anywhere else on the building, because he knew the HOA's restrictions.
And where Starlink's mounted, you're not getting, he's like, you're
Yeah,
getting
I'm
missing
losing
a chunk of the
33%
sky.
of the satellites, so I'm not getting, I mean, I'm fine, it's okay, but it could be better, so.
His unit is kind of oddball because they actually were bouncing off a tower that's on a house the next street up. So basically they bounce off that tower and then direct it down the street towards him to try to hit.
I just think it's an issue with the change of the frequency that other people are gonna, he told me they were slowly replacing them, but they were way past the date requirement to replace them. So some people were being grandfathered in unknowingly to the better service, and at some point, we're gonna lose it if they haven't already. I don't know. Maybe it's all
They're on
in
their
place.
way out.
Yeah.
So I looked into it as well. I purchased Starlink. I went through through climbing on the roof with my phone to find the area. There's not a great place to install. What I landed on is, and I would like to hear the opinion of everybody else. The best place to put the Starlink is to try and figure out how to attach to the soffit, or not the soffit, what is the side of the roof, the fascia. The best thing to try and do is attach it to the fascia. Our roofs are separated by a bit of fascia. It's just, when you do that, you have to keep in mind where the snow is gonna slide off those roofs, because I looked at that and I didn't want the slope, that snow gets moving off those upper roofs. So then if you get up there, you need to get it up higher or out away from an edge where the snow's not gonna catch it, rip the fascia and everything else off. But if you're not going with Werfen Hotel, which Werfen Hotel is just okay. I don't think it's great. I don't know what anybody else's opinion is, but I don't think it's great. Starlink is decent. Starlink is actually pretty decent. The dish is like $600 and it's $100 a month for unlimited. So it's not cheap, but it's good. It's decent, but you've got to get it up so it can get the full sky. I personally, in this, no sense.
In CenturyLink,
Uh-huh.
we're the dish in CenturyLink. But we put it on like a vacation mode and we
That
can't.
was, essentially comes to the phone.
Yeah.
They're the worst company in the entire world.
Right there with Starlink.
Yeah, I think Jade.
You can use ours, but it's gonna cost you $125,000.
Yeah, that too.
It's only one guy.
That's.
It is one guy, but
It's
now
something-
honestly, it never worked. And we haven't had an issue with work since.
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes down, you're good.
Also,
Yeah,
when
I got-
when I first moved
I had
in,
no
this stuff came up, I
complaints.
was
They're absolutely.
a little shocked, because I was like, I don't have internet, and that is kind of a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And other people who want to use my unit, and so I had to go with Starlink, it was really the only other choice, and it was pricey, and, it's still just whatever, but it has to be at least a certain level of service too. That was why I didn't even think about CenturyLink, because I knew it wasn't gonna work.
Don't go. That said, and no offense to anyone, because I know it's the best, it's the best spot. I don't personally like the look of the dishes sitting on the back of the deck rail. I don't know that anybody does. I just think people run out of options. I would put it out to everyone to say, is everyone okay if we attach it to the fascia?
So just like along the side of the roof.
Along the side of the fascia board is the board along the side of the roof.
Yeah.
Is that where yours is, Dan? Did you put yours up there?
I didn't end up putting mine up.
Oh, okay.
I did not end up putting mine up. I just stuck with Werfen Hotel. I put mine up at another place. So, but it works well at the other place. But I did have to climb up on the roof. It's all the way up on the end of a peak of a roof to get it to, because it's got to have a full 360-degree view of the sky, because it hits satellites in that hole. view. And any obstructions pulls down your signal. So, I guess I'd put it out to everyone. Does anyone have any, issues with having it on the fascia? I would say closer to the peak of the roof is probably where you want to be. That's where you want to be for signal. That's where you want to be for snow. I would recommend getting a professional person up there, because I personally was not going to climb any further than out the window and stand on that garage roof spot. But most of the roofs have a little bit of a break, right? Because we have a little bit of a step in the units. So there's a little bit of a break in that roof line, and there's a piece of fascia that runs up that roof line. You want to get it up there as high as you can, because that gets up above the chimney stacks and up above the trees.
Yeah, you need to define, because obviously your fascia goes across where your roof tips out at the bottom all the way.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter where you put it on that fascia.
Yep.
Snow's gonna wipe it out. And then we're gonna be tearing fascias off.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
So it needs to be on the gable side.
Right.
And if you do,
The strongest part.
because the other option is Starlink has a ton of different mounting options. And they do have a roof mounted option, but I don't want to go punching holes in roofs. I wouldn't punch a hole in a roof.
Well, we've actually been doing some research too, and Marion, who did you say was coming in?
Jade.
They're out of Alamos.
JD.
And they're a fiber internet, so they'll have, that'll be the best option 100% as soon as they're there.
But they're not.
They're already in Levita, but they haven't come out this far yet.
And I did submit a letter on the HOA's behalf requesting that we be part of some government money that is being given out to bring internet out.
There's a lot of broadband money out there right now for rural
Yeah.
areas.
Yep. And so I did send a letter in 6 months ago asking that we be part of saying, hey, as an association, this would be a huge benefit to our association. Please consider providing the grant to get internet up here.
Is that orange line they've been laying the last 2 years fiber optic?
Yep, that'll be fiber. And that fiber should be as fast as anybody needs. It'll be gig up, gig down.
It might take them a year to get up and top the hill.
So I don't know. It took, last year they got it looks like from Walsenburg all the way up through into the village. Those little orange conduits that were sticking up in the village. They had cones over them. People kept running over them. Those are the fiber. So I don't know if the businesses in town have it or fibered up yet, but it's close.
If they do fiber optic, just be aware that if you go with fiber optic for your phone, basically you only have phone as long, power outage, you only have phone for as long as the battery that's operating the phone lasts.
Yeah.
Like with a true landline, you would have you would still have a live phone.
Yeah, it doesn't require, yep.
You still have a landline now?
I don't actually have a landline, no. Everybody uses a cell phone nowadays anyway. No, sensory link and landline are.
Because during power outages, you have to have a landline to call the power
Is it
company.
rotary?
Push button.
Push button, yeah. But you could actually pick it up and take it with you.
I actually didn't think that was funny, Stacy. I still have a rotary.
See? And that's all.
And plus, we had like our grandchildren coming up and visiting us, and they wanted to bring friends. Well, the parents would not let them come because we did not have a landline.
Wow.
Because of the service situation. Now, since AT&T put up another tower on a county road close by, our cell service has been really, really, really good.
I actually go back to when we first bought it and when we didn't have it, and you know what? I could almost-
Kind of nice, wasn't it?
I could almost go back to that.
So it sounds like maybe we got a year, 2 years max, and we won't have to talk about where we're gonna mount dishes and, well, let's not talk about where we're gonna mount dishes. I think that's a little bit easier than the internet issue, but I would say for now, let's not poke holes in the roof. Outside of that, if you can find a way to put it up there that doesn't penetrate any of the metal roofing, I don't think anybody has any problem with that. It's just don't don't penetrate the metal roof.
Speaking of dishes, there doesn't seem to be any standard on where the dish is to be located. It's whatever mood the installer is in and whatever short route he can take to put the dish up.
And he has to get a view of the southern sky. An unobstructed view of the southern sky has to be achieved to get
Depends
dish
on the
number.
location of the condo
Yep.
too, and what it faces and what it blocks.
I can't imagine you can't get a southern exposure to almost any unit here.
Mine had one that faced.
There may be
Christine's
one or
unit.
two,
I took it
but-
down, but
There are some that are just all over the place.
We had a hard time with ours, you know, whenever they couldn't get through, the trees was blocking it. And so he, yeah, it was
I was-
kind of a mess until they finally found the right spot. And then sometimes we still don't.
with all the streaming services, I would assume that becomes less of an issue once we get fiber internet, because then you can stream and you don't need to pay that extra dish bill. You have your internet and you stream whatever you want and you don't need to pay for it.
It's the only way to fly.
Yeah.
What are they doing on the side of the road digging up? Yeah, what are they doing, you know?
I think that was just them reestablishing the ditches to get water drainage away from the road. They were, last year, they were boring fiber. That was what they were doing up here last year. They had 4 rigs and they were boring fiber all the way up. But I didn't see any, it looked like they made it. I didn't see any, I haven't seen the bore rig out. Well, last night I didn't see the bore rig out, so I've been open a month or two, but last night I didn't see the bore rig out and I didn't see any spots where they had, pits for boring. So I don't know if they're done or if they still have a ways to go or if the village is live now. And I mean, with the village going live and with them getting fiber up here, they'll probably likely get more cell phone towers and better cell phone service and we're running out of place to die. So, anyway, outside of that, I think the vehicles parking in the community, that was pretty well centered around a van that's parking at the unit that is. That van hasn't been there in a while. That was a American Hotel office. So, I mean, other than that, there's been discussions of different things. I know, I do know that the CCNR say they don't know ATVs, no trailers, those kind of things.
That's
So
part of Panadero too, not just us. Covenant.
for the entire association. So, I know that's one of the things that has happened. So that would be that comment. And unless anybody else has anyone else have anything they've seen or want to discuss about that? So before we move on to nomination and election of new board officers, any other discussion that anyone would like to talk about?
Sorry, I keep bringing things up. I'm so my driveway, is that like gravel in the driveway? Is that a HOA maintenance?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty worn out. Like there's like this big a gap from my door, the bottom of my garage to the driveway.
Yeah, well, I'll get, when Ron comes up, we'll get Ron to look at that. And he can push some dirt and some gravel back up in there.
Because when you come in and scoop all that snow out.
Right. Well, and I assume also
It falls
the
down.
ice and the snow coming down.
There's no need to do all the driveways.
I agree.
They spent, the last time they were up here, they spent 25 minutes doing all the roads and 2 hours doing for people who are never here.
I thought we were doing driveways only as requested.
Nope, they do them all.
Okay, we'll talk to Tyler about that.
He's doing all of them. Yeah.
Or how would we request? Actually, that's a good question. Send it to.
Yeah, send it to us and we'll send it to Tyler, but he was supposed to just do driveways as requested.
Now, what happened this year, the last 2 snows we had were one day right after the other. Technically, they shouldn't have showed up the second day. It was right in that 5-6 inch thing. We're supposed to have 6 inches or they don't touch it. They did not bring the plow up. The skid steer came up and they know from 3 or 4 years running, they're not supposed to touch my driveway. I do it myself because they tear the heck out of it. Well, the guy they sent up was I had actually, every year I hand them either photographic look of the property aerial view and which ones they're supposed to touch, which ones they're supposed to plow. I actually talked to the earlier in the year, the skid steer operator asked me for the information again. So if he had shown up on the very last snow we had, we would have been okay.
Okay.
They had a new kid in there and he was sent up there to do everybody, he just was told you're supposed to plow all the driveways, so that's what he did.
Okay,
And
so
I
it's his own rule they've been following.
I retrieved my driveway from private property across the road. You can't, I played Indian, you can't tell what I did, but Don knows I did it. He saw me out, he saw, what is this idiot doing out there? Redoing his driveway, but you know, that's what happened this year.
Okay, so it was just the one storm though, it wasn't as a.
Yeah, it didn't happen until the very last time they plowed it, and they dug the heck out of everybody's driveways, although there was some damage. I mean, they have scooped most of the gravel that existed out, you know,
Okay,
probably
cool.
even previous winters.
We can reinforce that.
Dawson asked for new gravel in his driveway 2 years ago at a meeting, so we haven't really touched the gravel issue. The problem with the gravel, you go back to the meeting minutes of 2014, you put the gravel down, the first plowing, it's not on the road anymore, it's in a pile along the side of the road.
Yeah, which is, yeah, and that's, and like I said, I emailed, I called Puff, I mean, I had to call him like kind of psycho dialing to get him to answer the phone, then he had to put out that he had to answer the phone. I know there's not many options, but if it were up to me, I would have fired and got somebody else just for answering the phone.
So my take on it is, yeah, okay, put some gravel back in the driveways.
Yep.
Putting it on the road is, I mean, that's a marginal call. That's almost ridiculous to do because it's just gonna get scraped off.
Right.
So I have just an addition, first of all, Tyler, it's HUFF. If you want to correct that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, HUFF. So this year, he had like a high school kid who was my neighbor in Leah
Mm-hmm.
do the snow removal.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's probably his first time, so I don't know, I think maybe you can just ask Tyler, like, because he did more damage, it seemed like. His name's Keegan. Just ask him if maybe he can come up and actually do it, or, do you know what I mean? Because Tyler used to do it himself.
So,
Well, as I said,
It's like a high
the
school
day,
kid.
the day before the one, I mean, the last day it was no plow, so Tyler or his brother, they hadn't shown in the plow itself. It was just a skid steer that came up. The day before that, the plow, Tyler had been there. So it's not like Tyler didn't show, it's just that very last day.
Okay.
The plow never showed, so there would have been theoretically some supervision if Tyler had shown up that last day.
The thing that
But he did.
the thing that we battle with too is, does anyone know of anyone else
I
besides?
was just gonna say Tyler's the only bit,
That's-
in
yeah.
Huerfano County.
Yeah.
All of Walsenburg,
Yeah.
even everybody.
He's our
So,
only option.
He's really our only
It's really
option,
bad.
yeah.
which is, again, that's fine, I'm not advocating that we get rid of Tyler, I'm not. If somebody is able to talk to him and says, hey, go retrieve the gravel and put it back. I emailed him and said, Tyler,
I did.
retrieve the gravel and put it back, and we will pay you to do that, but just retrieve the gravel and put it back. I understand it's a, you know,
Yeah.
it happens when you're doing snow, there's just no way around it.
Yeah,
But,
you know, that's one of the things I did for free for 4 years, was basically rearrange the gravel on the property, but, Tyler is actually offered, he's another source for gravel if you decide
Okay.
you wanted to do gravel too. And
Okay.
I should say it now, is we probably could have saved money on the trees this year if we actually used Robert Ingenby to do it, because he was extremely reasonable. Everybody told me he was gonna be more expensive. When I finally got a quote from him, he was like a half or a third of what, I mean, arborists just charge obscene prices to take trees down. And I saved you money by not letting, they had orange taped the tree out in front of my place, because yeah, it's the second time that it's had a disease issue. We had a snow May 20th, it just knocked out it just killed all the new growth on aspens, and they suffered this year, or last year, because of it. But, you know, hell, if that tree needed to come down, I've already taken part of it out, I've taken other things down on the
No, and
property.
I appreciate
I would have personally taken that tree down rather than have it cost the HOA on that one.
And I appreciate that, Ellen. That's, if we need any future trees, we'll get with you and get Robert's number too. We had somebody that had provided a proposal for us and we looked at it and I checked around a few people and they said, oh, it seems reasonable. I said, okay. Well, let's get
And Robert's got the equipment, he's got the boom truck and he is an excavator by trade and he lives in Lovita, he's right local.
What's his last name?
Ingleby, I-N Gold, B-Y, Ingleby.
His
It's
company is.
you see his
RAI.
you see his trailer actually down in front of one of those sites.
No, S.
But it's RAI, which is Robert, A. Ingleby, it's what his name of his business is.
All right. All right, then moving on. Fun part. Nomination and election of Sunwatcher board officers. Any nominations out there?
We need some nominations because we've been on 8 years. It's time for us to go.
All right, nominate Leanne for Jerry. Board member, board member. Okay. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Who else?
Yeah, what are the, what are the positions that are open or needed?
All of them.
All of them.
So does that
President, vice
mean-
president.
So whenever
secretary.
you volunteer, you'll get together afterwards and you'll decide who's gonna do what.
I did see it's like 2-year terms rotating or something.
10.
Or is that-
10 years.
Like I said, 8 years.
Oh, So we need 3 at a minimum, right? That's the requirement in the document.
So with
3
bylaws,
to 5.
Like 5.
the bylaws actually are pretty antiquated. I mean, you could flip fairly quickly because
Yeah.
they thought we were gonna have 40 units at that particular time when they wrote those things. You're lucky if you're usually stuck for 2-3 years at least. Randy and I, what, 4 or 5? Stacy and Joyce, I think it was 12, wasn't it? That she finally served before I pleaded with somebody to take your position.
But when I said I'm not the Supreme Court.
Barbara, do you want to stay on the board?
Yeah, I've only been on a year. I'm happy to stay on.
Okay.
I would like to nominate Ryan.
Okay.
No, seriously, thank you.
So we got Leanne was nominated and approved.
Yeah. And then.
I'm selling, I'm out of it.
Nominated Ryan.
And I'll second.
Ryan has been seconded. All in favor of Ryan Hawks?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're outvoted.
We fought in November of 14 and got on the board in May of 15. Our very first board meeting.
Okay. I mean,
And I don't know that we had an option.
I've already talked with them about it, that's why.
Okay.
So it's not totally a surprise.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Okay, does anyone want to nominate Barbara?
Barbara?
Nominate Barbara for
I nominate Barbara.
Okay, great.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes.
Okay, anyone else want to nominate somebody? You can nominate somebody who's not here too.
Well, I hear if you sign in via Zoom, you get automatically nominated. Do we have a second?
Oh, so really. So we've got Ryan.
You sure? All right, we need 2 more.
Oh.
I've got a brand new. Oh, that. No.
You have to have at least three.
I mean, three fills what? President, secretary, treasurer.
Yeah, or it's treasurer/secretary.
Yeah,
That will do.
I'm taking notes.
Position doesn't matter.
Can I ask a
Every
question?
every board member has an equal
Right.
stake in the whole thing.
I guess Leanne lives here full time. I think like the at-large member ought to be somebody who, in addition, maybe who lives here and knows what's going on.
It should all be who lives here.
I don't live here.
Okay, except
I
for the
live in the
exception.
There are only 5 of us that live here the whole time, and one of them is a renter, so. 2 of them are renters.
That's right.
Five?
Two of them are
Five?
rent- 2 of them are renters.
Ah, renters.
So.
Yeah, can't do that.
What about Trevor, is that his name?
Travis's unit is up for sale.
Oh, just not
Traveling,
Yep.
yeah.
Travis's unit is up for sale. Went up earlier this week.
Or those of this one too also.
It's up for sale, yep.
Jake?
So you don't accept the nomination?
Served my years, believe me, under several different presidents, and Stacy was the best.
And you did a wonderful job. Wonderful.
I thank you, and I
Would you like to
appreciate
nominate
it.
your husband?
Oh, I would love that. He would be great.
Oh, is that a nomination?
No, if I want to be retaliatory, I could nominate the person that nominated me in 2016, but I'm just gonna let that one.
Well, I know that wasn't me, so go for
They
it.
knew who they are, but then.
What? So, one more, guys, one more. At least one more, two more.
Let's go 5. It's better to keep it an odd number because you can have,
You have to vote.
you have to be able to solve if you haven't.
I'm gonna nominate James. He's never been on the board. All these years, I did my part way back when.
Is that nomination accepted?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, wait a minute, need a second for Bill.
Second for James.
Okay.
Who, what? Who seconded? Bill? Who seconded?
Tim.
Yeah.
James. James Smith. Second.
Okay, Linda Moss, por favor. That's
Oh, we have to vote for Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right.
Should Kim be on? Because she's so
She's
good.
already done it. No, I'm
Oh,
not.
okay, sorry.
It's okay.
She's
Tina, would you like to nominate your
she's who I pleaded with to replace Joyce.
Have to ride back to Texas with me.
That is a long ride.
Yeah.
Joey.
I can drop him off.
Oh, well, he's got a place to stay.
Okay.
We've been trying to reach your address for.
Can I copy your list? 'Cause I don't know anything. That's okay. Okay, I know Leanne. I met her yesterday.
You talked to Jim Bowen here. No, he's in Florida.
All right, one more, guys.
It's 29.
We need one more, then we can all leave.
Heather,
We need to
Rich
talk.
from- And I've gotta have
That's all I
something in there,
know.
but
These are remembered.
And Jim was just last year.
Alan, you want to do it again?
With a full board of 5.
I may be in Montana.
Well, that's okay, there's internet.
we got Zoom. It works.
I'll nominate Dawn.
Thank you for putting that together. Do your house like that work well.
I think it did, yeah.
Dawn.
I
He's
thought there
here
were gonna
full
be one or
time.
two more, so they couldn't come, but they couldn't.
I'll take it.
But they didn't.
All right.
Okay.
Signal.
So.
And all your effort would have been in vain. So I thought I'll just-
Doug didn't mention that. I guess just because of business.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
What happened?
All right.
I haven't heard.
So new board officers are
No,
Ryan, Leanne,
it just
Barbara,
got me thinking.
Jim.
Jim.
and Dawn.
Whole new board.
Bless you.
What's the last name?
Thank you, yes.
Dawn,
Could you like send all of us?
Providence.
Thank you.
So.
What number are you by the? Pardon, what condo are you in?
Well, I'm not, I rent 29 out full-time.
Yeah.
But I've got a house up on Panadero Loop.
Okay. We can talk about it.
Can you do the website? Oh, there is one.
How much? What's the? It's not.
Well, I have another website just depending on.
We should password that. That's okay. All right, real quick, whoever makes up the website will get that fixed, but if you have a request for any, outside request for, maintenance, please send that, we'll get that set up, and that'll go straight to the president. So, because any repairs have to be approved by the board, not after they're done, before they're done.
and there was a form on the website.
Yeah.
Yes, there is now, and I think it still has my email, but
That's okay.
we'll get that corrected. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to the Johnsons for doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
34. New board members, if you please come up here to accept your sentence.
Well, thank you. Thanks for-
I guess I should shut them off now.
You want me to just come down?
Like everybody else.
Thank you.